Welcome to Get After It with Nashy, brought to you by Ace Property Management and Sales.
I'm actually studying up for a drone exam, and so many laws.
So it's, well, I can imagine, but yeah, I don't know where to start with you because I've been following your page and there's so much I want to ask you about your creativity and the videos and the content that you put out. That your Instagram page is obviously where I discovered you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, my Instagram's pretty big. I definitely have really good overall gross engagement there, but I started with TikTok. Everything I do started with TikTok, and then it migrated towards Instagram when Reels was released on the platform.
Okay. And have you been on social media since? How old are you now, John? That's probably one thing.
I'm 25. I'm
so
25.
So you've been on social media for a long time, and did it?
No, I first got on social media when I was probably 19 or 20.
Okay.
And it was like right after I graduated high school, probably got on social media then, and I didn't have more than 2,000 followers on one platform for up until about a year and 3-4 months ago.
Wow!
And then
things have really gone quick. Things have really grown.
Yeah, things kind of sped up out of nowhere. Didn't really predict it happening or anything. I had an old friend of mine I grew up with on this little farm in Western Kentucky, and she actually is like an Instagram model with like 100,000 followers. And so she messaged me back maybe 15 months ago. And she's like, hey, this video looks really cool. You should post it on TikTok. And I kind of was like, what's TikTok? I don't even know what that is. So I posted it on TikTok, woke up the next morning with 50,000 views on that video, and the rest is history. I mean, I started posting every day after that.
What was that first video? Was it
It was a half over, half underwater video. My main TikTok page at John Derting, the very first video on there, you can actually see it. It's pretty much just a half over, half underwater video. I shot it in Eagle River, Alaska, and I was freezing my feet off in a river, taking photos of half over, half underwater. And then I just decided to take a video. I knew nothing about video. I didn't know about frame rates or how to film or what's what, and obviously I've progressed over time, but it took a little bit of learning.
So are you completely self-taught? Everything that you put out is all sort of self-taught? You've not been to class or taken lessons, it's just kind of learning on your feet and as you go?
Learned everything on Google and YouTube. There's other YouTubers out there who have put out every single thing you need to know. For sure.
I get it. So yeah, you can just watch the videos, and if you're willing to
you pick up the pieces you need. And I mean, every single YouTuber is going to say some things you probably don't need, but there's bits and pieces, and then eventually you find it works for you. And I'd say the most important thing about all of it is being able to pick that one video or two videos out of 100 videos and just know it's going to go viral. Like in your head, like you've seen it enough, you've watched it enough, and you know what people are going to interact with and like and share with their friends.
The Alsatian running across the Alsatian with the swimming mask on, chasing the frisbee into the water.
Yeah.
How did that video come around? Was that obviously set up? Someone threw the frisbee, but whose dog is it?
I have a friend up here she's a canine trainer, so she trains dogs, and every once in a while I'll go do photo shoots for her as like a side hustle, and sometimes I'll just run into her at a lake or something. I'll be like, hey, I've got my cameras here. Let's do some quick videos, and then we'll just have some fun. And it's kind of, I don't look at a lot of the stuff I do is there's not a lot of pressure on, when I'm throwing a rock off a waterfall, I'm just having fun. And then later on, I'll get in the editing app and I'll start throwing a video in reverse, doing some other little things to it. And then I'll remember a song that seemed like it flowed really well with this viral skateboarding video or a viral snowboarding video, and then I'll pick that song, man, how can I use that in something that I'm doing, because clearly people like that song, it went viral in that other video. And I'd say the music I use probably has 60 to 70% to do with my social media success.
I mean, the word influencer, I'm going to use that very strongly because you influence me. I put a lot of on a lesser, grander stage, I put a lot of reels together with my kids and my family. But I've started using a lot of the music that you use because it's just so good. It's just so deep and thoughtful music. It's really, really interesting.
I put a lot of time into figuring out the few songs, and I'd say there's probably about maybe 50 or 120 about songs that I pick from. and I have added to it over time, but it's so hard finding like a new song that's going to be catchy, perform really well, and it's going to withstand that test of time. And it's not just a trend, because there are some songs that like I used that were trending, and then as soon as they quit trending, I kind of had to like let those songs go because they weren't at the top of the game anymore. And when musicians reach out to me all the time, they offer to pay me to push their songs on my page. I usually charge a rate that I know they won't pay because I don't really want to use their music.
Wow. Okay.
And it's not that their music's bad, and I think a lot of their music's great. It's just not going to go viral, unfortunately.
I like how when you put a reel on it, it actually chooses what a chorus, or it chooses the main bit of a song for you. But there's so many bits in songs and in music that is maybe the main chorus, but it's actually the opening chords that you want. It's not actually the person or the singer singing. It's actually just the chords of the song.
Right. And you know, I notice a lot of the songs that Instagram will select what part it wants you to use. A lot of times I don't use that, so I can find a more unique part that hasn't been heard before, maybe, or some way I can find something that complements a movement in the video, or maybe a change in scene if I'm doing a transition in the middle of the video. But it is a big difference, because I know a lot of people shoot videos and they're professional filmmakers and they do a lot of things and they care about quality and so on. I'm like, I don't care about quality. I care about, it needs to look good on people's phones. And if it looks good on their phone, it's probably not shot in 4K. It doesn't need to be 4K. It might as well be 1080p. It might as well, like, a lot of people waste, they get lost in the weeds.
Okay.
Where it's actually really simple. I think what I do, like, if I taught a 10-year-old how to do it, he could probably do exactly what I do. Now, picking the videos would take a little bit of learning, but I think it's not super complicated.
You say that, but you've had the patience to learn it. You've had
this is true.
You've had the patience
this is true
to not give up.
I was heavily motivated though by those few successful videos early on, because when you wake up and you look at TikTok and you have, there was one month, I think my biggest month, I had over 500 million people watch my videos on TikTok. And that, like, it really makes you think, like, this is something, either I'm getting lucky today, like crazy, or maybe I'm onto something. And when I started thinking like, okay, maybe I'm really onto something, and I started thinking like, there's creators out there who do reviews about Tupperware and they make a living off of it. And so I figured it doesn't need to be super complex, as long as I can do it, recreate it, and make it unique enough to where it's not a boring feed, but it follows a really strong theme, and people will follow it because they like that style.
I read an article I found about you that you, as you said earlier, you grew up in Kentucky, and you've got, is it 9 brothers and sisters?
Yes, 9.
9. So how did you find your way to Alaska? Does your family look at what you do now and they think about it?
Yeah, it's a pretty complex story, and to be honest, it gets a little hairy. So I kind of left home when I was 16, 17. I left home because I didn't have a healthy living situation, and there's a lot behind that. But I left home to try and get an education. I wanted to graduate, public school, because I was homeschooled most of my life. I literally isolated, kerosene lamps, no electricity, windmill, off the grid living, mile-long driveway, the full 9 yards.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. And to think that, like, now I'm at the top of the social game, when I come from being that like long-haired shaggy kid who didn't know how to take a selfie, and he was like 18 trying to figure out how to pay at a restaurant or use a vending machine. I'd say I've come a long ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So none of that came natural to you?
None of that came natural, and it was actually really awkward, because I did the whole, like, take your shirt off, posing in the mirror, doing like the selfies. Like, I tried that for a little bit on Instagram when I was in high school. Super bad, like cringy, man. I deleted a lot of that, but I didn't really know what I was going for, but I always knew like I liked taking photos. And I always kind of had that cool, like, man, it'd be cool to, take something cool and have it go viral. And it's kind of like a joke to myself, like, that's never going to happen. It's never going to be you. You're never going to have a video break even 10,000 views. And that was years and years and years. But,
and are some of your brothers and sisters still at home, or have they all sort of left the nest, or what's this?
So I keep in touch with my older brother, George is his name. And then Mary, my older sister, she actually graduated with her master's degree, and she lives, I think, in California, and then moves sometimes back to Ohio. But I personally don't keep in touch with all of them because some of them are still on the farm in that situation that I left. That's pretty, it's not the best situation. And I mean, definitely kind of had a falling out relationship too with most of my parents really. And I haven't I haven't seen my mom in 8 years. I haven't seen my stepdad in 8 years. And then my real dad passed away when I was 8. So it was kind of, when I left, I kind of left for good.
Yeah, and was that that must have been a difficult time, a difficult decision to leave? And what opportunities presented themselves as you left? Did you know what you were going to? Where did you move to first?
I moved to New York, and I actually worked at a couple cemeteries doing maintenance through high school. And then I had an uncle and grandparents in New York who I'd never met before. So I wouldn't say they're definitely family now, but like when I first moved up there, it was very hard adjusting. And then I wanted to be independent. So I, didn't want to take any handouts from anybody, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to, I'd never been paid for a job in my life at that point, but I sure as hell knew how to work hard.
Wow, I mean that's a bit. What age were you when you left?
What?
What age were you when you left?
I was like just turned 17, like soon after I left. I was like 16 when I left, but I turned 17 soon after.
Just a boy.
Oh yeah.
You left, and what did New York present for you? How did that turn out?
I definitely didn't go to the city. I moved to upstate in a small little town called Medina, New York, and it's kind of between Rochester and Buffalo, to give you an idea, sort of near Lake Ontario. And it was definitely hard, but I met some good people there. I had this one teacher in high school, Miss Duhow, and I remember I had a lot of issues, like social issues, like not understanding how to engage with people or anything. And she really helped me. I actually left a note under every one of my teachers' doors when I graduated, telling them thank you for the help, because I had no social experience. I didn't know how to go on a date with a girl. I didn't know how to hardly even dial a phone. So it was kind of just an awkward experience getting out there.
Well, and is that obviously where your parents or where you grew up? Did they know how to do all that sort of stuff and just keep it from you guys, or?
Well, so my real dad, he was kind of like live off the grid, stay away from the government, kind of a doomsday prepper, I guess you could call him. And we lived in like near a bunch of Amish and Mennonites and that type of culture. So obviously we weren't Amish or Mennonites, but we definitely, like, I wore a straw hat. We never had new clothes. We bought everything at Salvation Army, Goodwill. Salvation Army or Goodwill is where we bought everything. And then it was just a very simple life. Like, we owned our own sawmill, and it was just like there wasn't a lot of technology around. I think for a couple of years my dad might have had a computer, but he definitely didn't let his kids use it.
Oh, okay. And so when did you get your first phone and start taking your first videos?
Actually taking videos? Oh Lord, that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4. So I had a phone for a while and so on in high school and so on, but I never like would see something like, man, I want to film that and make a video, because there's always a reason why are you doing it. And if you're filming it for your 100 followers or 300 followers, there's a lot less motivation to go out and film an extensive video or spend a lot of time editing, because there's not that possible return on investment yet.
How did you overcome that? How did you get past that? Was it just one quick video that went viral and quickly?
It was kind of, so like, I believe that at some point everybody gets a chance to do something. And a lot of times we get that chance and then we realize that we had that chance after it's long gone. So like when I saw that 50,000 views, a lot of people I know have way over that on TikTok, and they only posted like 3 or 4 videos. But when I got that 50,000 views, like, I remember not having shoes growing up or like making the money to buy my first vehicle. It to me felt like an opportunity. And when something's an opportunity, there's no way I would let that slip by.
So what was next? 50,000 views. Did you just get out there straight away?
I was like, how can I create something that's better? Like, how can I make the video quality a little better? How can I slow this down? This river, slow it down a little bit, put it to some music. And then I had crazy good reactions on TikTok. And I remember it was less than like maybe 4 weeks after that first video I posted, I was getting, like 15,000, 35,000. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like I woke up one morning, a video had, 500,000 views. And I was like, oh my God. And then the next week it had 2 or 3 million. And next thing you know, I had a video break 30 million views. And then I had people that lived in Florida all over the US that were reaching out to me on Instagram or other platforms like, hey, I just saw your stuff on TikTok, or it's on my For You page. And so that kind of was very overwhelming and stressful, but I didn't know enough about business. I'd never written a business contract. I probably got screwed over quite a bit early on, trying to get into the business world and understand how video licensing works, things like that.
Like businesses or people might want to have used your video content.
Yes.
They should be paying you for that.
Yes, they shouldn't just never just give your work away. And then I also learned, I copyrighted my work back in April of 2020 or May. I sent in a legal copyright request, and everything I've ever produced since then has been legally copyrighted by the state of the United States. So that was really important move early on that I made. That's, won me some, legal money back at this point because I copyrighted my work.
That's your journey, isn't it? That's your journey. And it's kind of the success story that something happens so quick and you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to sort of deal with
the other thing is, this whole time when all this is happening, I'm also working full time as a vehicle mechanic. So, 40, 50 hours a week. I also, I'm in charge of, there's 3 other guys under me right now who I have to like grade them, make sure they're doing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But the work, doing that job and going out and filming and living in Alaska where you get maybe, 3 or 4 hours of sun in the middle of winter, having that on top of me working night shift all last winter and posting every single day and finding that niche piece of content that's going to keep you trending, keep those numbers going up. My goal was to break 100,000 by 2021. And by 2021, I was at 700,000 on Instagram. And so to me, it was kind of, I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the #1 followed person in the state of Alaska. And that was right after that first video. Like it just, like I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. You could call up a friend of mine who, she's also a photographer up here. And I told her, I said, I will be the #1 followed person in the state of Alaska. I don't care if it takes me 10 years. I was like, I'll do it. And it was kind of, I didn't think I actually would to myself. Like it was kind of just me saying something, but looking back now, I'm glad I said it because I made it happen.
And like, I mean, that's incredible. Like goal setting, would you write your visions down? Would you write 1 million followers or #1 in Alaska on the wall? What were you like?
No, I always see it as something that can disappear as fast as it comes. So your followers are never, they could, into algorithm could change. You could quit trending tomorrow. So when you are trending, feel good in that moment of richness, but also know that a famine could come at any time. So I save money. I still work my full-time mechanic job today. And I have about maybe 8 or 9 months left where I plan on doing that job before I quit. And then I get over into doing social media and videos full time, because at this point, the actual monetary deals are definitely up there and I could definitely make a living off of it in a smart way.
It's crazy looking at your page and having followed you for a while now. It's crazy to think that isn't your full-time job. The quality of what you produce, the videos and the content that you put out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, it's breathtaking, some of it, and it's relaxing. Yeah. I mean, I have spent a lot of time watching your videos and just going through the reels, but it's incredible. And I think obviously you'll know this better than I do, why it's all gone viral and why it's so successful, is you can watch one of your videos over and over again.
Yes, that's the key right there. And then if it's that good, usually you're like, man, I'm going to show this to a friend. And when someone shares your work, that is like the gold gem of social media. Shares are probably the most valuable thing on Instagram. Shares and saves. You'll see a lot of viral creators, they all say in the captions, share and save to support my work. And they're literally saying, hey, help us go viral by sharing and saving it. Even if you don't care to share who you're sharing it with, that is what makes a video go viral, is the shares and saves. And I've had videos with over 60,000 shares, 60,000 saves, and that's going to the moon. Like we're talking over 10 million views.
Well, it's funny because when I share your work and put it on my stories or something like that, it's funny, I don't think of it like that. I don't think like I'm going to help John here. I'm thinking people just need to see this.
Right.
Or somebody might connect with this.
It definitely helps though.
Oh no, I know, I get it. And I just, as a fan of your work, I almost don't operate or think that way. It's more like, I just want my friends to see this. I think this is
and that's
so cool.
That's definitely a goal, because if you ever have to tell people to share your work and they're sharing it because you're telling them to, or because they care about you, then you're less of an artist and you're more of you're more of a celebrity. Because if you're just an artist, and like I like to think like people won't share my work unless it's good. And if a video flunks, it's because it wasn't good enough, and it's not the algorithm's fault. I do believe that if you stop trending, it's because the quality of your work is no longer what people want to see. And it's it's kind of a cutthroat world in that mindset, because, if the video performs poorly, maybe your judgment's lacking a little bit in that one area, or maybe you assumed something, or you got sloppy a little bit, but you gotta keep yourself in check.
So what have you been doing with kit? Have you reinvested in kit, and are you high tech technology now that you use, or is a lot of it GoPro and things like that?
So I do use a lot of Sony gear. I have, Sony A7R4 and a couple native lenses that I probably spent, $15,000-$20,000 on. And then I have a ton, probably like 5 or 6 GoPro Hero Maxes. I've got the Insta360. I did some promotions for Insta360 brand. GoPro actually just reached out to me, and they want me to submit some of my work to possibly win a GoPro challenge. I don't know if I will, though, because I'm kind of it's a lot of time, and then you also give GoPro a license to use your work, and then there's no guarantee that you'll win any money. So you have to be careful what you give away. Don't give away your best work.
That's you getting educated. That's you knowing. Yeah, that's really interesting, because you'd think most people would jump at the chance.
Yes, well, because most people aren't doing this. Like, I've licensed videos that were in 1080p quality that were less than 15 seconds long for more than $4,000 or $5,000, just because I had a good buyer, and it was a 1 or 2 year license. And usually they push for in perpetuity, and I was like, hell no. Can we get that moved down to a year and a renewal fee with a percentage increase that's fair? But that stuff gets a little tricky. And then when you start Googling, trying to find information about licensing or pricing and things like that, there's nothing out there for how much you should charge as an influencer of my size, or a lot of other big people that do this. There's no information unless you got the inside scoop from your buddy who does this. You don't know. Nobody knows. It's like the Wild West.
Absolutely, but does the Alaska tourist board or anyone, have they reached out to you to sort of put your
They
videos
did
on
not
there?
early on. And what's funny is I used to leave them messages. I could go back in my DM, in my inboxes on Instagram. You'd see like these long messages like, hey, I just got, 700 million views on TikTok. Maybe we could like work together. Every single one of my videos has the hashtag Alaska. I've reached over, like, for sure, over 1.5 billion people at this point with my videos. And the hashtag Alaska is on every single one of those videos. So have I advertised the state harder than any news agency or advertising agency ever? Yes. And I will say that with full confidence. But that doesn't mean I'm entitled to anything. I did this of my own free will, and I don't expect any company to work with me. I do hope that, I just finished a gig with Travel Alaska, who's the official state of Alaska tourist agency. And they did put me on a beautiful 6-day trip. And it was to help promote tourism in Alaska and just get people out there traveling again. It was a really good gig. I was happy with, the deal we made. And I think in the future, I would love to work with them more, and a lot of other companies. But early on, I probably had a mindset of, hey, look what I'm doing. I should be working with you. And now I have a mindset of like, you don't have to work with me if you don't want to, but you should.
What took you to Alaska? What made you move to Alaska in the first place?
So on my job actually up here, I had a contract to work at the airport I work at. So I'm a vehicle mechanic. I work on the vehicles that de-ice airplanes, or these massive trucks made by Global. And it's a pretty messy job. Glycol fluid running down your back some days. Other days you're out in -15 trying to fix a busted hydraulic line, and you're getting creative at 2 a.m. in the morning on the runway to get a vehicle moved off the runway so aircraft can land. And it can get a little hairy, but I think that side of my life has faded into the background a little bit because of my pressure to build my own business and keep up with what I'm doing and make sure it doesn't fall through.
And I mean, a dangerous working environment, but what about when you're out in the Alaska wilderness? What have you come across? Grizzlies, animals, wildlife?
So I hate to say this, but like, I know so many people. I'm just gonna be honest. There's so many people in Alaska who are way more adventurous than me, and they do insane like mountain traversing and these crazy ass trips. And I'm over here, like, I hop out of my car, I hike 500 or 1,000 yards down to a little river, and I do my little videos, or I get into waders and I find a river that's got, perfect textured water, and it's the right, right kind of winter day, the right lighting. And I get out there and I film for 2 or 3 hours, freeze my toes off. That's my kind of extreme. It does kind of look like I go on crazy adventures in a lot of the videos, but they're usually not super insanely hard, or what I would think is insanely hard. For example, like when the helicopter company flies me out to a glacier and then I make videos in the glacier that everyone else had to fat tire bike out to or snow machine out to, it can be a little deceptive that I'm doing a lot of these things like I'm, hiking out to this location, but a lot of times I've definitely been taking the easy route. But
That is so
just
honest,
to be
honest
honest,
of you. That is so honest. You could have given me, you could have taken me down a path of adventure,
it
grisly encounters.
yeah, there's crazy encounters. I have had my fair share, but I'd say my best encounters are like when I had this one lady reach out to me the other day. She lives all over. She used to own VH helicopters, I think. She basically owned a helicopter company and sold it, and I now work for that helicopter sister company, Alpine Air Alaska and Girdwood. I'm their lead influencer and video creator, and that's a funny story how I got that job. But so the best part about social media is just having people reach out to you like, hey, if you want to ride on my helicopter to go see something or make a video, anytime. And when you have stuff like that happen, it's like, holy shit, like I'm just some guy who knows how to fix trucks and run a basic camera.
Yeah, but it's the product that you produce at the end of it,
Yes.
the care and type. So when you do, say, a 15-second reel, will
Yeah.
that sometimes take you hours to film that, or what would that usually take?
It's definitely not hours to film that one reel in that one moment. It actually, if you took just the time to film that one video and edit that one video and post it, that's not a lot of time. The most time is in picking that one video out of maybe the 30 or 50 I shot that day, along with trimming it up to where it's the perfect segment. And then a lot of the other time is just spent taking so many videos and then picking that one that looked the best. There's definitely a lot of data that just gets deleted or stored on a big drive.
Is there a time of day that you prefer shooting? Sunrise, sunset, or does it just depend when you can get out and make the best?
You have to work with the environment in Alaska because the days are so short in the winter and the days are so long in the summer. In the summertime, you don't really see sunset because it's setting at, past midnight. And then in the winter, you've got only a short window of sunshine on the weekends to actually go film. And you're trying to film enough content to have content to publish or post every single day. And so that does add a good level of pressure. But at this point, I have enough stock. I've got like 5 terabytes of stock footage, and a lot of it's virgin content that's never been posted. So I can easily tap into that if I ever have, if I was to get injured or have a problem, I have a reserve to be able to continue posting and never fall off that trend.
Yeah, good planning. It's always good to plan ahead and be ready. Like you say, that injury. Did you not read that have you not fallen in the glacier water before, or you were freezing and got stuck out in the wilderness?
So I did go on a 45-mile hike last summer, and I did mess up my Achilles tendon. And that was right when I started going viral. So it was a big challenge with that injury, being able to like go to places and then like find rivers that were near enough to the road where I didn't have to walk farther than I was, technically allowed to walk from what the doctor's orders were. And it was very, very difficult thinking like, man, if I get injured like this again, I might not be able to go get enough content to post. And there's been a lot of days where a video doesn't trend and you're like, man, is this like the end of the thing? Is this the end of the line? Like maybe Instagram, the algorithm shifted and now I'm going down the drain. But over time, you become a lot more hardened. So I think of it like stock investing. Like when you're early investing, you do a lot of emotional based trades. You're like, oh no, it's like the market's up right now, I need to sell, or the market's down. And then if you talk to any experienced investor, it doesn't matter what the market does. They're just putting money in there to hold on to it for maybe 10 or 15 years. The long game.
So what is the long game? And I noticed that you've got a YouTube page as well, but it's definitely not got as many followers. Do you prioritize YouTube?
I should post to YouTube. I should take up that endeavor, but the time and energy I spend on Instagram doing what I do and opening up and reaching as many people as I do, it would be very hard to do that in YouTube while working a full-time job. And the reason being, YouTube, editing a quality YouTube video where the quality matters a lot more, kind of like there's YouTube. I think a lot of YouTubers, and they definitely post in like 4K, 60 frames a second, and they've got really good audio, and they spent 6 to 8 hours editing the video or longer. And that's a lot of work to post one video every week. Versus on Instagram, I can be engaging with my fans every single day, I'm not spending a ton of time. I'm not spending 8 hours editing a video. I'm throwing out a piece of content that from experience, I know is likely to go viral with this certain song. And to me, it's a very quick, simple way to keep that huge audience engaged. Like back in at my, like one of my better months, I had 46 million views on my work recently. And Lady Gaga had 43 or 44 million listens to her music on Spotify that same month. So it was like, hey, I just had more people watch my videos than some celebrity. And I mean, I'm not saying it was kind of a big deal for me. That's all.
Oh, hell yeah. And what about, have you had any celebrities reach out to you or people get in touch saying
There's a few. There's one actor from the show Vikings who follows me on Instagram, and he comments like every day on my work. That's pretty cool. And then there's other celebrities, I'm sure. Like when I start looking through my follow list and I see a lot of blue check marks, sometimes I check them out and see who they are. And I feel kind of bad when like I don't follow them back and I find out they've been following me for a long time and message me and I never saw their message or followed them back into like some celebrity. But I don't like, I care just so much. I try to care just as much about the little guy who has 20,000 or 5,000 or 100 followers, because the reality is they could do the same thing I did. Like they could be the next person that everybody's trying to get on board with. I mean, to be fair, nobody believes in you until you made it. Like once you made it, then everybody's like, oh yeah, you're going to do this.
Or they'll say, I knew you were going to do it.
Yes, yes. But early on, it's like people laugh at you. And I lost a relationship because of social media. I lost friends. I quit spending time watching TV. I quit watching Netflix. I don't ever game anymore. I don't drink beer. I don't drink at all, really. Definitely make some sacrifices to always have that. You know, you have to post every day. You have to keep that presence on the digital world because that is so important.
Last Friday, I sat on the podcast and recorded with a guy called Tom Stoltman. He's just been crowned the world's strongest man. Okay, wow. So he won the event in where was he? I think it was over in Sacramento. He was over in Sacramento. Yeah. Him and his brother Luke and Tom Stoltman are the strongest brothers that have ever lived. But I was at Luke's house last Friday and sitting with Tom and Luke and just asking Tom what it's taken. People see him win world's strongest man last month, and it's been a 10-year journey. It's been even longer for him to get there. But he talked about sacrifice, and he talked about selfishness, and he talked about relationships. He's married to the love of his life, and he's very honest. He went through tough times because he had to go to the gym. He had to say no to that commitment. He had to put time in. He had to forget about distractions. And it sounds similar to you, that if you're going to change your life and moved away from your family and made that decision, and you want to get away from the airport and being a mechanic and do this for the rest of your life, something's got to give. And that's like so many people that I speak to say the same thing.
Yeah, well, something gives, and then you also have this mindset of determination. And then when failure hits, like I failed out of a job I really wanted to do. It was for a special selection into a military service for special ops, and I failed out of it. I'd been trained 2 years to do it during high school, and all I wanted was to graduate that course with I think I had like a 90-something% attrition rate. I made it 4 months on team with a bunch of other guys, and everyone was dropping like flies. And when you fell out of something you want so bad, you either let it get the best of you, or you just get better at failing. I got so good at making mistakes that at this point, if Instagram flopped tomorrow, I think I would be okay. I know how social media works. I know how videos work. I know what I need to do. I'm also a professional photographer on the side. I can go shoot portraits. I can shoot weddings. I can make a living off of this period. And it doesn't matter what avenue it's in. I know I'll be successful because of that competitiveness. Like I'm very competitive. I know I want to be better. I definitely don't have the best work right now. And I'll tell you right now, there's tons of creators up in Alaska who definitely could make a way better drone video. They can make a way better gimbal video. Like they're professionals and they're very, very good at what they do. And they would spend more time editing than I do. But if we're talking about social media and views and followers and engagement, I'll own that. I'll win that every single time.
So what's the future hold for you?
The future holds, The future holds, I would hope to eventually get like an apprentice or teach someone else how to do what I do. So it's not just, I don't want this to die if I ever died, like this style of video, because not really anybody I know pushes out something exactly like mine. But I also don't want to make it like a YouTube video on exactly how I do what I do, because then it becomes like a loosely saturated market where people are like kind of halfway doing what you do, and they degrade the quality in some cases, not always, but it's like I think anybody could go out and make one video that I made. Anybody could, but to make them repetitively and be consistent, that's the hard part.
What about traveling the world? I mean, once COVID and things relax, do you plan on having footage that isn't just Alaska? Do you think you'll?
Alaska will always be home. I never want to leave here. It's beautiful here, and I would travel the world, but I mean, I definitely don't have this desire to live too crazy. I don't need a lot. As long as I have money to buy new lenses and Gucci gear, I'll be pretty happy.
Gucci.
Yeah, that's a saying.
Oh yeah, okay. So you want some of the high profile stuff. You like so you do. Is that different? Is that because of where you come from? Is that because of your
a little
upbringing?
bit? And I guess it's kind of like I like knowing I can go out and afford a brand new Sony. If you get a native lens, a prime, and you can go afford maybe a $10,000 lens, it might not be that you even need it that much for your business. And it's like, I'll never buy a sports car. I'll never buy something that's not a business investment. But knowing that I can do something that I never could ever, I never could, that is pretty nice to be able to do that. Or even wear, buy clothes that are nice. And I don't buy like brand clothing. I'm not like some clothing snob or anything like that. I just kind of buy whatever is comfortable and lasts and works. That's probably why I don't put my face out there so much on my pages. It's not about me. I don't want it to be about me. Like, I want to be able to do this when I'm 60, be able to still push out content when I'm 60. And it doesn't have anything to do with how I look. Like, obviously, I hope my personality is partly attached to the videos because that's showing what I like, what I think is good. But that's about it.
Yeah, you have created a job that you never have to quit. That you never stop until the day you die. You can keep going.
Kind of terrible too. At the same
kind of
time.
terrible. But how about? I mean, but the fact though that you've got so much stock, you could take a month off. There'll be stages in your life where you could go and travel and not even take a camera with you.
Well, you still have to post every day, and you do need to read your emails, because the 200-300 emails a day I sometimes get, and even more on busy days where the engagement's really high. I could receive 5 or 6 business offers in those 200 or 300 emails that are really good offers, because I never reach out for offers. All the business I've ever done at this point is they reach out to me. Marriott hotels have done promotions through me. I've worked with Insta360. I've worked with Polar Pro, Peak Design. I've done some really good deals, and then I've also done some trades. I've done tons of different things, but I don't reach out to any of them.
Is there any brands out there that you'd love to work with?
I would like to work with any brand. It doesn't have to be a specific brand, but any brand that's going to be a fair negotiator when it comes down to a lot of brands who try and lowball the hell out of you early on, just because they assume that maybe you don't know what your views are worth. And then as soon as I send them like an influencer calculator, that's a professional auditor, and show them my numbers, and it's like, hey, this is where I'm getting these numbers from. I'm already charging you half of what I should be charging you. They usually shut up, but it's just being honest.
Well, that's taking you time to develop those skills and that confidence.
Well, you have to stick to your guns, and it's hard being a tough negotiator when you're dealing with people who do it for a living. When you're dealing with a marketing company that works for a bigger company, they're very cutthroat. And if you think you're going to try and be nice or be friendly, you can be friendly after you sign the contract, but before then, they'll figure out a rate quick.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting world. Just not, I mean, for me, and even this podcast, you mentioned side hustle at the start. I mean, this is a side hustle for me. I work, you'd call it real estate,
right?
But it's something I enjoy. It's something I don't know where it's going to end up, what route it's going to take. But it's grown 170 plus shows, strongest man in the world. I've interviewed several American former military guests, snipers, Bruce Buffer, UFC.
That's awesome. That's very impressive.
But it's just, it's just don't stop.
You never know where it'll go. And, you're always one day away from your biggest break. And as long as you can believe that, and I mean, really believe it, you'll never quit. You'll keep going because you don't know.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit with social media.
See, when you say like 200-300 emails a day, what's it like in Instagram with 1 million followers? Is it just constant DMs coming in and also is it just so hard to manage?
You do not read all your DMs. I promise. There's no freaking way. So on like some of the busiest days I had, like when I had a video break 22 million, I probably had, 4,000 or 5,000 direct messages that day. And yeah, I scrolled through, but you can actually, once you break 100,000 followers, you can sort your inbox on Instagram. And I sort it to priority first. And what it does is anybody with over like 100,000 followers, whoever has the most followers that message you gets bumped to the very top of your inbox. So I'll see the messages from all the celebrities or anybody who has a big following. And then it'll start stacking all the way down to like everybody with 25,000 followers, everybody with 10,000 followers. And I try not to do that, but a lot of times you have to, because those are usually going to be your brand deals or possible negotiations or collabs with other creators. So I do that sometimes just to get to those messages, but reading everything is just, there's no way. When I do get to messages, it'll usually be like a message that says, "You're probably not going to see this, but I love your work." And then I reply back, "I saw it." Like,
yeah, well, you can make a lot of people's day by you.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
You responding, people will love your work. And it's people looking at you, 1 million followers and what you create, and people waiting for your next reel to come out. That's celebrity status, that someone with 100 followers sitting in, I don't know, Brisbane, Australia, likes what John does and just sends him a message and never expect anything. And they've got that wee red one at the top, checkbox, inbox, and it's you that says, "How are you? Thanks for sharing my video." That'll probably make their day. You've got yourself into it's a privileged position that you can inspire people and you can make them very happy.
I do think that's true. And I definitely have a hard time perceiving that, because I guess I put my head to the grind so hard since I started that I don't really ever take a step back and feel like I've made it. Partly for fear of thinking, if I ever feel like I've made it, maybe I won't wake up every morning and post. Maybe I won't have something ready to go tomorrow. And that fear of failing is as real as the ground we stand on. It's definitely something that I struggle with often, just knowing that something could change tomorrow, and then all that work, all those thousands of hours you put in could disappear. So you have to make sure you solidify it, put your name on every single social channel, post to 6 or 7 different social media pages every single day. I have a Twitter, I have a Pinterest. I got 4 million views on Pinterest last month. Who even cares about Pinterest? But if people are on there and they want to watch my work, and that's the only platform they use, they can still see my work.
Well, listening to you and talking to you for 40 minutes, I can tell that you're kind of just warming up, that you ain't stopping and you're just going to grow this. And I can't wait to see the progression. And have you done plenty of podcasts? You get asked on?
No, you're the first podcast I've ever done.
Really?
Yes, really.
What a privilege. I'm honored, because you're so creative, huge fan of your page. And I'm delighted that, John, you said yes, and that my email found its way.
I'm honest, I was lucky I saw that email, because I normally, whenever someone's asking for my time, I was like, what kind of scam is this? Are they trying to get me into? So I really appreciate your time though too, because I know you're a working man. You've got a life of your own too.
Yeah, it's all happening. But no, I send out emails, get after it, podcast, try and get attention.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Sometimes I'll get no response. I'll get a maybe, or who knows what response is going to come in. But then it sometimes hits your inbox and it makes my day.
Yeah.
And I'll go to my wife, Abby, and say, "Abs, John's coming on the pod." And she'll be like,
right.
And she'll say, "John who?" And I'll say, "The real guy. The guy that makes it crazy." Alaska's on our bucket list. That's where we want to take the kids.
Yeah. If you come to Alaska, man, there's some places here you got to see. It's pretty awesome.
We're coming. We've just changed we've got a family page, and it's called the Get After It Family. We want to travel more. We want to do more. And last week I took my kids and the family up to meet Tom Stoltman and Luke, the world's strongest man. For my kids, my boys and my daughter to meet the world's strongest man.
That's pretty cool.
You know, it's extremely cool. So
yeah, that's rare.
We're just warming up. We've got some cool guests coming on the show. We're just going to keep building. And like you say, maybe tomorrow something will take off and it changes the trajectory, or something will happen on Instagram that more people see us or see what
Absolutely.
we're doing. Let's see what happens.
And if you're aggressive, the results you get back, as long as you're aggressive and you're pushing really hard and you're doing the best you can, everything else is inevitable. It will happen or it won't. But as long as you do your part, that's what I always think. As long as I'm posting every day and I'm being picky about the content and I'm thinking and I'm believing in my own work, eventually something will happen. You will not stay stagnant doing that every day.
Awesome. John, I love it. I really appreciate your time. You're a very wise man for your young years. So congratulations and everything you've achieved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh, hey, good. Definitely. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time as well. But I know you probably got to get going here. And
it's all good. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.